Hey, Sivan here. Welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be looking at creating, setting projects and using image planes. So far all we've done in the kind of other videos is just using general sort of tools, making primitives, very kind of basic things. When you actually start working on projects and making models that you want to kind of use in anything else, you need to have a project for that scene or whatever you're making. It kind of stores all of your textures, any render information, dynamics, anything like that. And you need to have a central location to sort of store it. If you don't do it, basically every time you open and close or move your Maya to a different machine, it won't know where to call your textures in, for example, and all of the objects will turn up green because you've lost your textures. So what we do is we set up a project, and then I'm going to show you like the folder structure and how to kind of make sure you don't lose any information in your work. So first thing we need to do, when you start a new project, you need to create a new project, and you only do this once for each project. Once it's made, that's it, it's done. Every time after that you just set it. So first thing to create, we want to go to File and we want to go to Project Window. This will open this kind of settings here. This is basically the same, I think from 13 onwards. If you've got an older version, it's called something slightly different, like Create Project. Right, so what we need to do, first thing is we have to click New. You want to give it a name, something that actually relates to what you're doing. So I'm just going to call it Creating Projects Test. You need to also set the location. The whole point of a project is that you can keep moving the project around. So this is just where you're going to create it for the first time. If you obviously work in a company, they will have static or sort of dedicated locations for it. So they'll kind of tell you exactly where things are going to be stored. But for your own sort of thing at home, whatever, just pick a location to put it for now that's kind of easy to get to or where you're always going to work from. So this one for me is kind of fine. I do all of my models in this location. These naming conventions, same thing, these are the defaults. If you work for a company, they may have different naming conventions, but generally you're going to want to leave these how they are. Once you've done those, these are kind of advanced areas. Like I said, you don't need to worry about these kind of things when you're kind of working independently at home. So once you've kind of hit New, given it a name, set the location, hit Accept. What will then happen is in that location, so this is where I set it to, you'll now have a new folder with whatever you called it, and inside there you'll have each of those sort of folders. You'll also have a workspace mail script. This just stores kind of the settings and tells it where to call the files from. It's just basically linking all of this together. You're not going to need all of these. It's better to just leave them than delete them because you may need them later. But the main ones we want to kind of look at is images, scenes, and source images. So basically, because we've now created a project, what we want to do every time we save the scene, so save the scene, it should open to this location. So other than the scenes folder, it should be wherever your location is stored, and then it should be in scenes, and then you give it a name and save it. If it doesn't load up like this, it's because you haven't set the project, or it doesn't recognize where the project is. So that's kind of one way to check. When you then save it, it will come into your scenes folder. All of your scenes will be stored in here. Probably want to pick a naming convention that gives it some sort of order, say so O1 save, O2 save, something along those lines. And you also want to get used to doing multiple saves. So every time you make kind of change your model, like you've moved a step forward, you probably want to do a save at every key point, and then you can always go back through after when you've got a lot of saves and just delete the odd ones if you're kind of short on space. So the other things in here is images. This is where renders will go to, as well as UV maps and things like that, kind of in the later stages of the project. So they'll all go into images. So basically images is everything that's going to come out of Maya, and source images is everything that's going to go into Maya. So this is where textures are going to go, blueprints, anything like that that we want to call into Maya, you generally want to put into the source images folder. For example, if I say, so I've just thrown I've just thrown sources in here from my Iron Giant project. So I'm just going to grab kind of all the sources that make up my Iron Giant, and I'm going to put them in my source images here. So basically these are what I'm going to call in. So for example, I've closed my Maya. What I then want to do is go to File, Set Project, and the project, it's not inside, so not in here. We want it to be the root of the folder, so the outside, the whole kind of encasement. So not in here, in here. If you set it to the wrong location, it will say something about this location doesn't have a workspace script. Do you want us to make one? That's kind of one way that you know you've done it in the wrong location. So set the folder, set, nothing will kind of visibly happen, but when I go to call in my image planes, which I'm going to do now, it will go exactly to that location, so I know it's done right. So image planes. Image planes are very good, and I've used them in pretty much all of my speed models I've done so far. They're very good to have. They really kind of speed up your modeling. The way we bring them in is we tend to lock them in the different orthographics. So in this case, I've got quite a few. I've got one from every angle for my Iron Giant. So we want to go to ForeView, so hitting spacebar. The first one we're going to load in is the front. So View, Image Plane, Import Image, and it should load to my location because I've set the project and my source images are in there. So I've got source, front, open. I've now got him in the middle of my scene. He's quite small in relation to my grid. That will mainly be due to the actual image resolution. What we can do though is increase the size of him. So with him selected, so just marquee kind of a corner of the picture. The other way to do it is View and go into Camera Attribute Editor, and it will open the attributes, and then Image Plane Shape 1 or Shape 2 or Shape 3, whichever, how many you've imported. First thing it will do is tell us the location. So this is why if you don't create or set projects, this location will move because it will have a C or a D or whatever located to that drive. Because we're doing it from a project, it only needs the source images part onwards. So we then want to scroll down and we've got placement extras. So width and height is the size of our image. As long as we leave maintain pick aspect ratio on, we only really need to change one of these, and it will change the other for us. The other thing we might want to do with the picture is currently it's sort of in the way. This one's not too bad because it's got alpha, it's a PNG file. But if I create a cube and just kind of scale it up, he's kind of cutting off my object. I can't see the whole object in one go because he's kind of in the way. So what we can do is, with our image selected, same place, the image plane shape, we have image center. What we can do is we can push it back in the axes. It will look and move differently in perspective. It will stay the same size, same location in our front. It's just out of our way in perspective. So this image, it's pointing in the Z. We know that because if we're in perspective and say we kind of look at it sideways, well, there's a few ways to do it. If we look at it sideways, the blue is pointing that way. Also, we can select it, use our W tool, and we can look at which way the arrows are pointing. Obviously, red is X, green is Y, which means this one must be Z. So, what we want to do is in the Z, these don't tell you what axes they are, but if you ever see 3 boxes like this in a line, they directly link to the 3 boxes up here. So it's always X, Y, Z, the order. So what we want to do is first work out which way our axes here is looking through. So it could be positive or negative. So all we want to do is just type in a positive number or a negative number. And what will happen is what we're looking for is when our cube becomes fully visible in front of the character. So I put this to a positive number, the cube has now kind of been completely cut out. So if I put this to a minus number, I've got my cube back. So now my cube is completely in front of my image plane. You then repeat the same process for the other image planes. So view, image plane, import image, either side for this is fine. So open, and I need to scale it up again, so it should be about 20, and then I need to look at the axes and I need to push it out of the way. What we can then do is use this as a guide to kind of follow our object, so we can kind of start matching this up to where his arm kind of goes. So it's just a much faster way of modeling. You can completely freehand, it's completely your choice, but it just makes it faster. So you'd want to keep switching from wherever your image planes are. So because luckily I have all the angles for this, I can look at the side, get the shape, and then look at the front and match it up as well, and I can quickly start to sort of build my character up. So that's projects, creating and setting, as well as loading in image planes. See you in the next video.